going to start on Lamites Amud Aleph, that's 39a. And I can't tell you exactly where. It's Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says it's 2/3 of the way down.
That's far away from the chair.
You have Taisvis, it's right across from Dermiskin. Dermaskin, I don't know. Okay, Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says, when I was in the house of Rav Kana, one of the later Rav Kanas, Amar Lani said, Tafshila B'silka, a beet stew, tavshel, a cooked dish of beets. The loy mafshe bekimcha, that they don't put in a lot of flour in that. So the bracha on that is bar priyadama. But the lifter, if it's the turnip stew, the turnip dish, the mafshe bekimcha, that gets a lot of flour. Tfei, more. Tfei means more. That's a bar minimum zainis.
We said earlier that anything has a little bit of flour.
Right.
But then again, what's the main? Is it the main thing, or even if it has a little bit of flour?
Well, what we said before was that automatically it becomes the main thing. It's never buckled.
Right.
Flour is always so significant. But here we're going to see Hadar Amar. But afterwards he said, that both of them are Adama, even though it has a lot of flour in the turnips. Why they put so much flour in? You're still saying Adama. But the Buki Balma, that's just for its consistency, not for flavor. The 5 grains are never bottled if it's for flavor, but if it's just for the consistency, to hold it together, to thicken it, that's not for flavor. So then it would be bottled. That's the licorice discussion that someone brought up. Okay. Amar of Chisda. It's assumed that when you add in a lot, that you recognize that there's flavor, and that must be part of it if you add in so much. But here he's saying that it's not for flavor at all, it's just for the consistency. Rav Chisda says, Tavshel shel tardin. Tardin is another name for beets. I don't know if they translate it differently. So we have silka and tardin for the same. Tavshel shel tardin yafel alev. It's good for the heart. The toiv le'inayim, and it's good for the eyes.
Beets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You agree? Okay. The koskin lebnei ma'ayim, and it's definitely good for the stomach.
I'll save you a trip.
Amar Rabbi says that 1 second. Behuda Yosef Abei Tapi, that's only if it sits on the stove long enough. Va'avid tuch tuch. What's it called when the word is has the same sound as the onomatopoeia? What's it? But it's going.
Like the word roar.
Yeah, it sounds onomatopoeia. So this is a tuch tuch. When you listen to the vegetable cooking, it's going tuch tuch, like in the spirits of the. So if it's on there long enough.
Huh.
So. No, the beets will give it. Okay. Amar of Papa. From the bush. Rav Papa says, Pshitali. It's obvious that Maya de Silka Kasilka.
Also beef.
Yeah. Silka Tarda. That the water of beets, which means beet soup or borscht, has the bracha of the beets. You say Hadama. Say Adama on the borscht. Maya the lifta, and the soup or the water of turnips is also kalifta. Maya the kula shalki, kula shalki. The water of other vegetables gets the flavor of those, but it gets the bracha of those vegetables as well. So the soups get the bracha of the vegetables. Boy, Rav Papa has a question. Maya the shivsa Maya. What about the water of dill? Shevas, still. What about the water of dill? The question is like this: Lematuke taima, did they put it in for flavor? Lavuri zurma, do they put it in to take away a foul smell that's in the pot? Is it a perfume or is it a flavor? What's the difference? If it's a perfume, then we're not going to say a bracha on a hadama on the water. But if it's a flavor, then if
But you didn't say it was water, you said it was a dish.
Maya the shipsa, the water of the dill.
Yeah, but you eat dill plain as a vegetable.
We're gonna see in a moment.
This is the same case as before when we're talking about the consistency versus the flavor. Or this is
If it's just water,
No. It's not consistency, no.
this water, how does it take away bad smell?
From the pot. Maybe the pot. Okay. Tashima, come and listen. It says like this: Hasheves, the dill, mishenas natam b'kdeira, ein ba mishum truma. Once the dill has given the flavor into the stew, into the pot, then the sheves itself doesn't have any more. It's not considered vegetable anymore. It's considered wood. It's not considered truma, and it's not considered food. It doesn't even become tummy anymore. Once some people, they make soups like this, they put in certain vegetables, and then they don't serve those vegetables. They take them out because they've lost their whole flavor. So the chicken still has some flavor usually, unless it's just the bones or whatever. But here, if you put dill into a stew and then you take it out after it's given a flavor, so that dill is considered like wood. It's not truma anymore, and it's not. It doesn't become tummy even from food. So what we're looking at here is when it gives the flavor into the stew. Notice that means that dill gives a flavor. That means that the water of dill, and that's the word that we're looking for. Mishnas natam gives a flavor. That means that the water would be hadam. Shmamina lemituki taima abdila shmamina. You see that it was put in to give a flavor. That's the expression of the Bais. Amar Rav Chia Barashi. Here Barashi says, "Pas tzinuma bekara." You have a dry bread that's put into a dish to soften it. So I guess is it boiled again, or is it just put into to soak? It doesn't say it's boiled again. It's soaking in there to soften it. You can say maitzi on it. Now the way that we're learning this is that Tosfos is learning that you do have a whole bread as well in front of you. And our question here is, what do you make the bracha on? The pieces of bread or the whole bread? So Rav Chia Barashi says you make it on the pieces of bread. And the Gemara says, "Upligi de Rav Chia," and he argues on Rav Chia. There's a Rav Chia Barashi and there's a Rav Chia. Rav Chia would be Rav Chia the elder. So he argues on Rav Chia. Rav Chia says that when you say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Amaytzi Lechem Min Haaretz, when you're finishing the bracha, that's the time that the bread needs to be cut. So they both can complete at the same time, which means that Reb Chia would hold that you don't make the bracha on the dry bread because that's pieces. The dry bread is broken into pieces. You make a bracha on the whole bread. Maskefla Rav has a question. Why not the dry bread that's broken into pieces? Because when you finish the bracha, you're going to finish it. Pieces are going to be broken. They're broken even before you started. They'll be broken when you finish. But like croutons. Al pas nami. But on the bread as well, according to Reb Chia the elder, kika gamra, prusa gamra. When you finish the bracha, it's also broken. He doesn't like that you're cutting the bread up while you're saying the bracha, and at the end of the bracha, it's broken already. Ela Merava, Rava says you do it differently. Mevarich, you say a bracha v'achikach b'tzei, and then you cut it. Tosfos.
What if it's a sandwich? It's already cut.
Yeah, we're talking about
A whole loaf.
if you have a whole loaf that you're going to eat.
Sandwiches weren't created until the word sandwich. Later.
Tosfos says that you should not separate the prusa. You can't separate the pieces from the whole loaf until after the bracha. He says some have accustomed to say a maitzi before you start cutting, but that's not correct because then all your cutting is done after the bracha. That would be heschadas. between the bracha, it's too much of an interruption to cut the loaf after the bracha. He says, however, on Shabbos, that's what you're supposed to do because you're supposed to have a whole loaf in Lach Mishnah. Okay. Nardai Avdi Kerabchia. The city of Nardai, they went like Rabbi and they cut the bread during the bracha. And they finished the cutting at the end of the bracha. The Rabbanan Avdi Kerava, the Rabbanan went like Rava, and they did first the bracha, then they cut the bread. Amar Ravina, Amar Liam, Ravina says, my mother told me, Avuch Avid Kerabchia, that your father did like Rabchia. It means he would cut the bread during the bracha. However, Rabbanan Avdi Kerava, but everyone else went like Rava. Must have been a scholarly woman, she knew like with Shitas. The Hilchas Kerava, the halachas like Rava, that you cut the bread after the bracha. First you say the bracha v'achaf b'tzeh, and then you cut the bread.
The mother telling him that he has to follow his father.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe the fact that she added that in, that everyone else says differently.
Oh, you think that's
I don't know.
saying that? I think that's the good one.
I think so.
The mother was so knowledgeable in the place.
Rabbi Tom's mother didn't tell him to wear the grandpa's clothes.
So it's saying like what we do, we usually just make a partial cut.
Right.
That's why we do what we do.
It's based on this, but
we do it before we make it.
on Shabbos we only make a line. Chabad is just to make a line, not a cut. Itmar was stated by Amaram. If you if you have broken pieces of bread, and you also have a whole loaf or whole loaves. Amar Ravuna. Ravuna says Mavarech al psisin upaitas shleima. You make the bracha on the broken pieces, and you exempt the whole loaves. That sounds like here Barashi.
What is
Sounds
the
like it.
rationale for them wanting to cut it rather than
Not to make an interruption between after the bracha and eating. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Shleima mitzvah min hamuvcha. The whole loaf is the best mitzvah. Okay. There's a discussion here how exactly to learn what's going on. The way Tosfos wants to learn this is that the broken bread is larger or better than the whole bread. Now we have a discussion, are we doing the better bread at the larger pieces versus the small, complete loaf? So complete versus better.
What
We're not
size
talking-
it is?
Huh?
So what size it is?
We're not talking Shabbos, right? That's Mishnah, or we are talking.
It's not Shabbos. Okay, the Gemara says like this: if you have a broken piece of wheat bread, shleima min asayir, and you have a complete loaf of barley, then divrei kol mevarach al prus shel chitin. For sure, you make on the broken bread of wheat. Upaitas shleima shel seim, and you exempt the barley. 2 points here. One is that we had a machlekes between Rav Huna and Rabbi Yochanan. Tosfos says that we're definitely going to pass on like Rabbi Yochanan, that says that the complete one gets the bracha, and he says that he argues with Rav Huna that Rav Huna says the broken one would get the bracha. He says that we pass on like Rabbi Yochanan over Rav Huna's teacher, so for sure we pass him like Rabbi Yochanan over Rav Huna. Rav Huna's teacher is Rav, and the machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Rav, the halachas like Rabbi Yochanan. So for sure, a student. Tosfos concludes the first line of the wide lines of Tosfos. He says, this that we say halacha kebasroi, that's only by later Amirayim, not in the days of Rav Huna. In other words, because Rav Huna is later than Rabbi Yochanan, we have a rule that halacha goes like the later opinion. He says, but we only say that rule by other stages. We don't say it at those early stages, at those early generations. That's from Tosfos. Dafka b'amirai basroi amrin halacha basroi. I don't know if you see that. The next point is, Tosfos is discussing that what if you have pasakum, which is whole or good, and you have pas Yisrael, which is not. Which one gets the bracha?
There's a question on that?
Yeah, because Pasakim, you have the Tatum for it, but you're not supposed to rely on those Tatum if you have others. But here, you do have another, but it's just not so good. He says, you say the bracha on the Pas Yisrael. However, Rabbi Shimshon says that you should take the non-Jewish bread off the table until after the bracha because of the Shiloh. No, you're going to eat it. You're eating both. You have 2 loaves of bread. You have a big meal. You're eating both.
Is the Gemara going to discuss the reason for the priority of pizza over sorghum?
No, that's based on the wording of the pasuk. That's what they say.
First.
The schita is first in the pasuk. That's what the commentaries say. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Barabba. Rabbi Yirmiyah Barabba says Kitanoi. This goes back earlier to Machlekes Tanoim. Tarmin batzel katan shalim, avalei chatzi batzel gadol. When you take truma on onions, it's onions. A small whole one is what you give, but not a large half. Rabbi Yehuda Imer like you give a larger half than a small whole one. My laba kamiflagi. This must be the machlekes. The Mar Savar Chashavada. One of them holds, which is Rabbi Yehuda. He says that the larger one, the more significant one, that comes first, and that's the one that you give. The Mar Savar Shalim Adar. Another one says the whole one is more significant.
I don't think you can, because I would assume that the onion matures, maybe the taste will improve or something. Maybe the larger one is more
It's better.
and better.
Right. No, that's what he's saying. Do I say
But
the
not
better
based
one?
on size, based on the fact.
Okay, that could be. It could be quality, quantity, whatever.
Then you can't prove it based
No.
on the here.
We're talking about versus whole. There's some preference to the half, but the which the whole one doesn't have. But on the other hand, the whole one is whole. The other one is so okay. So Heichadika Kayin, Kumar says like this: if you have a Kayin in front of you that you're giving it to, Kuli Amalei Pligi, the Chashav Ad, if everyone agrees that this significant one goes first, because even though it's cut, but you have a Kayin right here, I'll eat it right away. It's not going to go bad. Pligi left a Kayin, but if I don't have a Kayin, then that's the question. The Tanan Kamakum Sheish Kayin, Termin Ayafa. If there's a kayin there, then you give the best one. But if you don't have a kayin there, then you give from the one that will last longer, the one that would be better preserved, which is the whole one. Rabbi Yehuda, you always give the better one, even if you don't have a kayin there. You don't look for the one that's going to be preserved better. So he's saying that maybe this is a machlekes. Machlekes Tanoim. Usually this is a problem. When you say kitanoi, usually it's asked as a question. Here it doesn't seem to be asked as a question.
Aren't they there to eat now? So they're not storing it.
Yeah, but if you don't have a kayin, then you want to eat your produce. So you just separate it, and then you can eat your produce. You don't have to give it to the kayin before you start. You separate it before you start.
No, I can't eat that.
Okay.
That's over.
Amar Menachem by Yitzchak. Menachem Yitzchak says Yerushalayim Yitzidei Shneim. Yerushalayim fulfills both of them, the Machlekes Rav Huna and Rabbi Yochanan, which is the better one versus the whole one. So Manu, who is the Yerushalayim? Marbrei de Ravina, Mar the son of Ravina, the Marbrei de Ravina Miniach Prusa B'Teich Hashneim B'Tzeya. He would put them both together. The broken one, which was better, the whole loaf, which was whole, and he would cut. Which one would he cut? Rashi says either both of them or he would cut the shleima. That's a little confusing because it looks like he could have cut the prusa as well, but that's what Rashi says. Tani Tana Kamei Rav Nachman by Yitzchak. A Tana, that's someone that memorizes the Baises during the days of the Amirayim, taught in front of Rav Nachman by Yitzchak. Miniach prusa b'teich hashleima b'tzeya mavarech. They take out the word mavarech. You put it's interesting. you put the broken piece together with the whole piece, and you cut as Rashi says, either the whole one or both of them.
Why does it take on the
Because where does the Mavarich go in? Mavarich should go before the Beitzayah. Right? If we pass them like Rava. Okay.
So what
No
is
one
that?
held that to say the bracha after you cut it. Oh, maybe if you have both, maybe Reb Chia Barashi. Amalei Mashmach. Reb Nachman Bais tells his student that memorized these Brises. Says, "What's your name?" He says, "Amalei Salman." Probably Salman. So Shalman. Okay. Okay, good. I was making it in English, in the English name, Solomon. He says Shalman. So Amalei. He says, "Oh, Shalamata Shlema Mishnasech." Your pieces to you and your teachings are perfect. Shesamta Shalom bein Talmidim, because you've made peace between the students. That means you've avoided the argument of which one to say the bracha on by putting them both together and saying the bracha on both. Amar Rav Papa says, everyone agrees, but Pesach, when it comes to the Seder, that you put the broken one together with the whole one, and you break the bread, you break the matzah. My time, alecha maini. It says a poor man's bread, which means you need one that's broken. How do you do this? You say the hamaitzi on the whole one, and you say alachilas matzah on the broken one.
But we actually put the two whole ones together. It's only when we do korach that we do a whole one here.
We hold the two whole ones with the broken one in the center. We say hamaitzi lachem in
It's not
aretz.
broken. It's made before. No?
No, the middle one was broken
Oh,
by
it was
Yachat's
broken
Vayoleh.
right before. You're right.
We put the bottom one down, and then we say alachilas matzah with the broken one and the top one in our hands. So that way we said we had lechem mishnah when we said the bracha.
About a month and a half to practice.
It's
However,
amazing how every year you forget.
The Gra didn't have that custom. I think he didn't have the lechem mishnah. He held that on Pesach. You don't use the lechem mishnah. I think that was his opinion. And that when you read this Gemara just straight, that seems to be what we're saying over here. They have a broken one and you have a whole one. Amar Abba. With the Shabbos chayv adam l'tzeil steak yikris. On Shabbos, a person needs to have 2 loaves.
Why?
My time, lechem mishnah, a double portion.
Lechem Mishnah was on Friday. It wasn't on Shabbos.
It was lechem mishnah for Friday and Shabbos.
But they ate on Friday. So by the time Shabbos came, they only had one.
It's not commemorating how many they have left.
Shabbos started
It's
at
commemorating the double portion of the month.
But they got on Friday.
Or else you would have 3 Friday night, you would have 2 Shabbos morning, and you would have 1 for Shabbos Siddur. We don't do it. We commemorate the double portion. It's not commemorating how many pieces they had left. Right? It's commemorating the double portion that they got on Friday.
But there's some who have the opinion to not do lechem mishnah by Siddur Shlishi. The Alter Rebbe pastors we use too. There are those who specifically only use one because there was just one left by Saturday afternoon.
Maybe in the
You
Rishonim.
start out with 4. Leave 1 Friday afternoon, now you're down to 3. With 1 Friday night, 1 Saturday
There's people
morning.
that actually do that, or in the Rishonim.
I read in Kisei.
It's good.
I can't read it from here.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Amar Ravashi Chazina Lul Rav Kana. Ravashi says, I saw Rav Kana. Did we have Rav Kana once today with Ravashi? Yeah. Ravashi says, I was in the house of Rav Kana with the beets too. He says, I saw Rav Kana. Did not katarti you batzachada. He held 2, and he said, and he broke 1. Reb Zeira have a batzah kula shirusa. Reb Zeira would take would say the bracha on this large piece, and that would be enough for the whole meal. Instead of like cutting it into small slices, he took this big piece. Amalei Rabino Ravashi. Rabina says to Ravashi, you look like a glutton. You take such a large piece. Amalei, he says, or Amar, given the kol yom like kavod hachi, since every day he doesn't do this, he only does this on Shabbos. It doesn't look like a glutton.
More he uses the term vota. Vota means you break
To break it, but it also means
say
to
anything
bracha.
about a knife.
Oh,
Today we use knife.
לא, במנהג הספרדים, לקצוע ביד.
לא מדבר על המרוקאים.
אתה מכיר
גם
אותה.
הפצנו שלנו?
למדו.
כן, גם בוצעים. לא פותחים.
לא. זה מנהג הספרדים, לקצוע ביד.
That's the Moroccan.
it has
זה
to
מרוקו.
do. It doesn't have to do with the word. I don't think it has to do. Maybe it has to do with the word vaitzeya, but it also has to do with the way they made bread. They made pita, lafa, whatever. You didn't cut that. You tore it down the middle. You tore it like. Then they started to make other breads. They were still tearing it the way they would tear the pita. There's more to it than just the. That's what I think. Okay. It's a rip. Rabami Varavasi, Kiavi Masramili Rifta de Ruva, when they would get the bread of an Erev, which is an Erev Chatzeres, when you have a communal area with different apartments, so in order to carry in that communal area, rabbinically, even though it's walled off, you need to contribute bread to one house. That's called an Erev.
Bread and like some
For
protein.
Rosh Hashanah, it's called the Erev. You want to cook
No, I
one
mean,
day.
they do it once a
You
year.
do it once a year, probably Erev Pesach.
It's Pesach.
Erev Pesach. They do it for the,
Pesach.
they do it for the city, and they put it in a shul. If there's a city Erev. But if you don't have a city Erev, you're just doing it for your apartment complex or whatever. So you have to put it in. How do you have an Erev without it?
Every show has to do it.
No, not every shul. They do it for the whole city.
You have a duplex. I did it with my
Right. Right. You're not allowed to carry from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah, from one private domain to another private domain. Or if there's a public area that the two private domains are using, or if it's an apartment building, all of that. So you have to make it into one domain.
Sometimes you on Shabbos, you go to a hotel, you have to do a roof, צירים גם.
Yeah, it depends on how you.
You have to give $1 to the guy. It's a lot of money.
לא יודע,
I don't know if
מה עושים כסף?
אני לא יודע אם אפשר.
אי אפשר. I think the
Some
rabbi
rely on other opinions over there in the hotel. It could be the owner of the hotel owns certain items that are in the hotel rooms, and it's considered like all one property.
You give to the guy.
I think the reason the
You go over
No,
to the guy sleeping
Ashkenazi
in the
cut
fourth
the night
You
because
some
שלא
use
יהיה
some
פירורים.
now?
פירורים זה סימן לעונש.
And as long as he says
If it
yes,
falls on the
that's
floor.
it.
I was just
He has no
Uh-huh.
choice.
I don't know which makes more crumbs. Okay,
Do I give you
Uh,
some always and everything else?
so-
You gotta buy it.
so he says like this. Rabami and Ravasi, they would say the bracha on the bread of the Erev. Amri, they said, because one mitzvah was done with it, mitzvah of Erev, mitzvah chada, mitzvah chita, let's do another mitzvah with it. Okay. Amar Rav. Rav says, Tol Baruch. Tol Baruch. In it tzarech levarech. If the person that cut the bread, and he's supposed to be taking it first into his mouth, but if he doesn't do that, and he says, he passes it to someone near him, he says, take and say your own bracha on it. Take some and say your own bracha on it. So he doesn't need to say a new bracha, even though he interrupted between his bracha and the eating, because that's considered part of the eating. It wasn't a separate discussion. Even though if someone talks between his tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel resh, he does need to say a new bracha, but this is not considered a hefsek. This is involved with the meal. Let's go on. It says, let's say he says, Havi melach, havi liftan. Bring salt, bring a dip to dip the bread and bring some hummus or something.
זה לא הפסק.
tzarich levarich. He has to say a new bracha. According to Rav, this is a hefsek. Rabbi Yochanan Amar. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Afilu heviu melech heviu lifta nami in tzarich levarich. Even washing is a little bit more lenient. You need a larger interruption for the washing. But I think, anyway. Rabbi Yochanan says that no, it's not an interruption, it's required for the eating. What about gavel laturi? Mix the flour with the water for the oxen. Turi is shoyri. Why? Taf and shin. Taf switches with shin switches with the top. Tura is ox because it's shoot like sharp. Right, like the chagadia. So you have to for that you have to say a new bracha. Look at what happened. If he says like make the food for the animals, so and he interrupted between his bracha and his eating, he has to say a new bracha. Rav Sheshes says, "Afilu gavel aturi nami ein tzarich levarach." Even if he says prepare the food for the animals, you also don't have to say a bracha. Dam Rav Yudah Rav. Rav Yudah says the name of Rav. You're not allowed to eat until you feed your animals. I will give food in your field for your animals, and then you will eat and be satisfied. Someone told me they were at a rabbi's house. The Shabbos makes the bracha on the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam HaMetzil Lechem Min Haaretz. He drops the knife and he runs out of the house. He runs to the neighbor's house. He comes back a minute later and he cuts the bread and he hands it out. The neighbor had gone away and asked him to feed his dog. And he had forgotten that morning to feed the dog and he was ready to eat. And you're not allowed to eat before you, and he said the bracha.
Wow.
He must have learned it.
Wow. All the tips.
Wow. Okay. Now, Tosfos over here mentioned something interesting. Chaim, you're gonna like this. Tosfos says on the top Tosfos, Rabbi Menachem hayamedaktik moed. He was very careful to put salt on the table, because the Medrash says that when the Jewish people are sitting at the table and they're waiting until everyone washes their hands, they're not doing any mitzvahs. The Satan is makatrik, but the salt protects them. The salt should be on the table to protect you while you're not doing mitzvahs, when you're waiting for everyone. He brings this Tosfos. Very nice.
What does he say? What did you say?
That's why when you see people,
Especially with
big two, let's wait for the white to go. They're really doing the wrong thing. Because they're extending the period of danger, waiting for the salt to come. It's like one time the Rabbi sat down and there was no salt, so he took Kusa and he pushed it against the other.
Interesting.
This is the Tosfos over here?
Yeah. Salt should be on the table because the salt is a protection while everyone is waiting and they're not doing any mitzvahs while they're waiting. So that protects us while we're waiting for everyone to wash. Because there's a covenant with the salt. Somehow that's a protection.
You know what I read? It's protecting you from
What?
the affair of not being able to say Torah.
Oh,
You can't talk.
right. That's what it sounds like. Right? That's what it sounds like.
That's this Tosfos?
Yeah, Rabbi Menachem. Amar Rabbi Bar Shmuel Mishum Rab Chia. Rabbi Bar Shmuel says in the name of Rab Chia. Anyone have a different girsa? If it says, does it say Rabbi Bar Shmuel in all of the Gemaras? Okay. Okay. You shouldn't cut the bread until everyone has the salt and the dip. Rabbi Bar Shmuel ikla lebei Reish Galusa. Rabbi Bar Shmuel went to the house of the Reish Galusa. Reish Galusa is the exilarch, the head of the community in Babylonia. Afikali rifta. They brought him bread. Ubatzala hadya. Immediately says the bracha and he breaks the bread and there was no salt, there was no dip. Amalei Hadamar Mishmaite, they said, you changed your opinion. You hold that you don't say the bracha on the bread until you have everything there. Amalahu Leistein Tzarech B'Sheish. This doesn't need to be delayed. And what does that mean? Is that this bread was already seasoned. This was
Like salted matzah.
yeah. Everything matzah. So this, he was ready to eat it right away. So that could have been a compliment to the host if he made that for the bread like that. Okay. Amar Rabba Bar Shmuel Mishum Reb Chia. Rabba Bar Shmuel says in the name of Reb Chia. This is because he mentioned Rabba Bar Shmuel name Reb Chia. We're going to continue with statements of him, even though it's really not associated. At least outwardly not associated. When someone urinates, he doesn't finish the last drops coming out unless he urinates while he's sitting down. Amar Rav Kana says, if it's soft dirt, then even if he's standing up. And the concern here is that he's afraid that the drips might drip on his clothing. So, but he doesn't have that fear if he's sitting down. So he will allow himself to relieve himself entirely.
You don't have that problem with Persian bath.
מתחיל עכשיו חיים. Rabbi style.
Starting with the Moroccans. Oh, no.
It goes down.
Oh, right. We had that Gemara. But if you don't have the soft dirt, then Yamid Makam Gavaya, B'Yashtan Makam, then you should stand in a high place and allow it to go down a hill. That way it won't drip on his clothing. Amar Rava Bar Shmuel Mishmeder Reb Chia, another point from the same author. After every meal, you should eat salt.
Very clean.
After every drink, you should have water. And you won't be harmed. Apparently, they would have food without salt, or they would have drinks that weren't mixed with water, and you needed water as well. So after you drink, you didn't need to have water. Maybe if it's wine.
I think you need salt, you need water.
That's what it didn't say. Probably, but it doesn't say that here.
Wait, this is before you bench?
That's what it sounds like.
I can understand.
Or maybe after. It doesn't say.
That's what it says.
Pani nami hachi.
It said, "אחר כל
What does it say?
אכילתך אכול מלח ואחר כך שתייתך שתי מים."
No, it doesn't say v'char kach. It says v'char kol.
What does it say in the
They say after they eat salt, after they drink water.
after drinking, drink water.
After they eat salt, they drink water.
Drink water.
The first salt and then water.
No, so if you're drinking wine, drink
Is that what
water
it says?
after.
Is that what it says by
In
you?
English, it says after whatever you eat salt. After
Period.
whatever you drink water.
Okay. And the Tanya Nami Hachi was also taught in the Bais. After every eating, you eat salt. And after all drinking, you drink water. Tanya Idach. You have another Brisa.
It's just
Achal kol
says
Michael.
when you say, if it's not a meal, you make a bracha if you eat salt.
We said before you say shahakal on salt.
And salt, I thought.
Yeah. And we have another Brisa that says Achal kol Michael v'le'achal melach. If someone ate a meal, he didn't have salt with it. Shasa kol mashkim le'shasa mayim. He drank other drinks, but he didn't drink water. The yoim during the day, yidag min reach hapeh, should be concerned from foul breath, halitosis. The balayla, and in the evening, yidag askara, should be worried about askara, which is not. I translate once as croup, but you used to tell me that that's just for children. It's some sort of breathing. Illness.
Diphtheria, they say.
Diphtheria.
It's
Okay.
a digestive tract.
The Ramah says
Formation
that
of-
you fulfill the mitzvah by having anything with salt in it, or anything that
Right.
has water.
So nowadays, this is not so relevant because our foods already have salt, and our drinks usually have water. Tanu Rabbanan, started in a Brisa Makbeh, Chilasi B'mayim. Someone eats and he drinks a lot of water to the extent that his food is floating in the water in his stomach, in the water that he drank. So, he he won't have stomach illness. But how much should he have? Amar Rav Chizda, titain lepas, a ladleful for pas, which is a piece of bread or a loaf of bread. Amar Rav Mari, Amar Rav Yechanan. Rav Mari says in the name of Rav Yechanan, Haragel ba'adashim. If someone is accustomed to having lentils or beans, how do they translate adashim? It's a bean or a lentil. Achas l'shleishim ya'im, once every 30 days. That's a good thing. Meinei asker mitoch Bais. He'll keep askara, which is an illness, away from his house.
He's in the stomach illness.
So sounds like it's not a breathing illness.
Stomach
It sounds like it's a stomach illness.
No, it's said here. It's easy. It's said here that the stomach illness.
And
It's
then
not breathing.
Rashi says when you have these lentils, it's a laxative.
It's a laxative.
You don't get constipated, therefore you don't get aspirin, whatever.
It does that mean? Is it possible that a askara, a breathing illness, could come from a stomach illness? Do I have to translate it as a stomach illness, or
That's
can
what
I
it says
say
right
that
here.
it comes? Because
It says an inflammation in the throat that begins with the digestive
Oh,
tract.
very good. Okay,
Excellent.
okay. Thank you. Abel kol yoyim aloi, but you shouldn't have it every day. My time mishum the kashel urecha peh. Every day lentils could cause bad breath. Amrav Mari, Amrav Yechanan. Rav Bari says the name of Rav Yechanan. Ragul b'chardol. Someone is accustomed to having mustard. Achas l'sheishim yom, once every 30 days. Menachem mitoch Bais. He removes the illness from his house. Abel kol yoyim aloi, but not every day. Not my time mishum the kashel l'chulshad beliba, because it could make his heart weak. This could also be because it's a laxative. And, yeah,
Mustard.
I don't know. Why would it make his heart weak? Okay. Amar Rav Chia Barashi, Amar Rav. Haragel b'dagim k'tanim. And
But Chardal of today and Chardal what was over there is two different things, because today you mix a lot of stuff into it. It's not pure Chardal.
okay. Haragel b'dagim k'tanim. Someone that's accustomed to eating small fish. Einabal dechelim meyayim. Doesn't come to stomach illness. I don't know if our herring would fit into this category. They're not, and maybe sardines. And not only that, elashadagim k'tanim mafrim v'rabim umarbim. They cause mafrim umarbim. A person could have more children. Umarbim kol guf shaladim, make a person very healthy. They reproduce. Amar Rav Chama bar Rabbi Chanina haragel beketzach. Rav Chama bar Chanina, this is an earlier.
Fennel.
This is either fennel or black cumin.
Arak. Fennel.
Someone says.
Arak.
Someone says that it's on
Which is
these.
fennel.
Where did I see that? Did I see it in Rashi?
Which is fennel.
Put it on the bread.
Inabol de kavlev. He doesn't come to a weak heart. How do they say kaiv? Pained heart. Meisvei. There's a question over here. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Ketzach, that this fennel or cumin, echad mishisha samani amavasu. It's one of the 60 poisons. By Yashin lemizrach garane, if someone that sleeps to the east of where he stores this, and the west wind is going to come and blow it over to him, Dame Bereisha, he's guilty for his own death.
Whoa.
So that means it's a poison. What are you saying? It's good for you. It's like kasha. There's no question. It depends if you're smelling it or if you're tasting it. The smell is bad, but the taste is good for you. Rabbi Yirmiyah's mother, Afile Rifta, she would bake the bread, and she would put the fennel or whatever it is, ketzach, on it, but then a makalfale, and then she would take it off, so you wouldn't smell it, you would only taste it. Rabbi Yehuda, back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that you say on fruits of the on leaves. That's from the fennel. So you say on vegetables, you say Bari Priyadama. And Rabbi Yehuda says that on the leaves, you say he creates types of leaves. Some are Rab Zera, became Rab Chanina bar Papa. Rab Zera and some say Rab Chanina bar Papa says, Ein halacha Rabbi Yehuda. We don't pass like Rabbi Yehuda. Rab Zera, Vitema Rab Chanina Bar Papa, Rab Zera, and some say Rab Chanina Bar Papa said, at my time with Rabbi Yehuda, what's the reason for Rabbi Yehuda Amarkra? There's a pasuk in Tillim. Baruch Hashem Yom Yom, blessed is Hashem day by day. Hashem is only blessed by day, you don't bless Hashem by night. Rather, it means to say, that each day you have to bless Hashem for its own blessing. It means each day new things are happening, you bless Hashem, not just in general, but each specific thing for each day. And if that's the case, for each species, you have to give its own blessing. Rabbi Yehuda held you have to be very specific with the blessing. He gets it from that pasuk. The same. Either Rab Zera or Rab Chanina Bar Papa said this. The ways of Hashem are different than the ways of a human. Midas basar v'dam, when it comes to a human, kli reik and machzik, an empty vessel that can absorb, that can take in. Malay, but if it's full, ain't a machzik, it can't absorb. But aval HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when it comes to Hashem, ain't a kain, it's not so. Malay machzik, only if you're full can you absorb. Reikin ain't a machzik, if you're empty, you don't absorb. Shnemar, it says like this. By Yomer, he said, Hashem says, Im Shemaya Tishma, if you will surely listen. The way we're learning it is, Im Shemaya, if you listened, then Tishma, you'll continue to listen. Im Lav, and if not, Lay Tishma, you won't listen. That means if you don't do anything, then if you don't maybe study. Those that study will study even more. Maybe that's what it means. In other words, if you're full, then you'll be able to absorb even more. You'll gain more from it. If you listened in the past, then you'll listen new. But if you turn your heart away, then you won't listen. I guess it means to forget. Let's go, drop. Should we do the Mishnah? We'll stop at that. Okay. We'll stop at the Mishnah.
Yes, sir.
This adds to another interpretation for It's rape, there's no terror. Downstairs, let's go, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Is it good?